Hi, I'm Kristen Hall. My weather observation is located in Bethel, Alaska at 60 degrees north, 161 degrees west, approximately 125 feet above sea level. My first weather observation was Sunday, January 25th, and my last weather observation was Monday, February 2nd. My observation times varied from 12 p.m. noon to as late as nearly 11 p.m. Alaska Standard Time. My NWS data location site is the Bethel Airport. On January 25th, my first observation was taken at 8:20 p.m. with a temperature reading of negative 18.6 degrees Fahrenheit on my left probe and negative 18.3 degrees Fahrenheit on my right probe. The sky was completely clear with no cloud cover and many stars. There was no precipitation and the wind was blowing out of the north with a 2 Beaufort reading. I could feel occasional small gusts of wind on my face and could see smoke from wood stoves blowing towards the north. The maximum temperature reading at my station was negative 17.6 degrees Fahrenheit recorded on my right probe, and my minimum temperature reading recorded on my left probe at negative 19 degrees Fahrenheit. The maximum temperature recorded by NWS was negative 14 degrees Fahrenheit, and the minimum was negative 21 degrees Fahrenheit. On January 26th, my observation was taken at 8:51 p.m. with a temperature reading of negative 9.2 degrees Fahrenheit on my left probe and negative 8.7 degrees Fahrenheit on my right probe. The sky was partially covered at about 50% with high clouds that looked to be H6 cirrostratus. There was light snow falling and the wind was calm but present with a Beaufort reading of 2. I could again see smoke blowing towards the north, and the maximum temperature reading at my station was negative 8.5 degrees Fahrenheit recorded on my right probe, and the minimum recorded on my left probe read negative 11.8 degrees Fahrenheit. The maximum temperature recorded by NWS was negative 5 degrees Fahrenheit with a minimum reading of negative 17 degrees Fahrenheit. On January 27th, my observation was taken at 10:45 p.m. with a temperature reading of negative 5 degrees Fahrenheit out of my left probe and negative 4.5 degrees Fahrenheit out of my right probe. The sky was about a quarter covered with H2 cirrus clouds and no precipitation. The wind had picked up compared to the previous days and felt to be about a 4, as I could see branches on trees and bushes moving. Again, smoke from surrounding homes seemed to be moving north. The maximum temperature at my station was negative 5 degrees Fahrenheit, registered on my left probe, with a minimum reading also on my left probe of negative 5.7 degrees Fahrenheit. The maximum temperature recorded by NWS was negative 2 degrees Fahrenheit, with a minimum reading of negative 6 degrees Fahrenheit. On January 28th, my observation was taken at 12:30 p.m. with a temperature reading of negative 0.7 degrees out of my left probe and 1.6 degrees Fahrenheit out of my right probe. The sky had low-lying L8 cumulus clouds with no precipitation. There was a gentle breeze with about a 3 on the Beaufort scale, as the wind was constant but barely blowing small tree branches. The maximum temperature reading at my observation station read 3.3 degrees Fahrenheit out of my right probe, and my minimum reading was negative 5.9 degrees Fahrenheit out of my left probe. The maximum temperature recorded by NWS was negative 1 degree. The sky was 100% covered with uniform and featureless nimbostratus clouds. It was snowing and there was a gentle breeze coming out of the north. I would register the wind speed on the Beaufort scale at a 3, with smoke visibly blowing toward the north and tree branches barely moving. The maximum temperature recorded by NWS was 20.5 degrees Fahrenheit. The maximum temperature I recorded was 20.5 degrees Fahrenheit out of my right probe, and the minimum temperature recorded on my left probe hit negative 5.8 degrees Fahrenheit. My last day of observations were by far my warmest temperatures, as they were not only one of the few readings that were above zero, but also in the double digits. My coldest temperatures were at the beginning of the week, and the temperatures seemed to gradually rise as the high pressure system on the TV weather maps I later viewed traveled southeast across the state. My barometer readings stayed pretty constant, although when I compare them to the NWS readings, it seems as though I missed a rise in pressure over the weekend. On my first day of observations, Sunday, January 25th, I recorded a barometer reading of 1,018 millibars. On Monday, pressure dropped slightly. When I checked my barometer, I recorded 1,014 millibars. It looks as though NWS caught a reading as low as 1,008 millibars on Monday night. On Tuesday, the 27th, and Wednesday, the 28th, barometric pressure spiked back up as I recorded a reading of 1,017 millibars. And unfortunately for me, I flew into Anchorage on Wednesday night and seemed to have missed the most eventful barometer readings. The NWS recorded readings as high as 1,038 millibars on Friday, January 30th. Once I got back to Bethel, my final pressure reading was on Monday, February 2nd, when pressure had dropped back down to 1,017 millibars. On my first day of observation, Sunday, January 25th, the TV weather map showed a high pressure system at 1,024 millibars just northwest of the state, but not a lot of constant pressure in my region in the Yukon-Kuskokwim Delta. A low pressure system can be seen at 993 millibars east of Alaska in the Yukon with snow and fog. There are also low pressure systems at 983 millibars and 990 millibars just south of the westernmost Aleutian Islands. A high pressure system is also located south of the easternmost Aleutian Islands, and a warm front can be seen southeast of the state with rain and fog. On this cold day, I'm not sure which of the pressure systems or fronts caused such low temperatures for my observation site. On Monday, January 26th, the TV weather map shows a high pressure system at 1,029 millibars, 1,026 millibars in the interior with fog, and another high pressure system at 1,022 millibars just east of Alaska in the Yukon Northern Territories region. A low pressure system is located at 986 millibars south of the Aleutians. Along a stationary front, you can see a low pressure system at 988 millibars with snow north of the Aleutians. At 1,011 millibars right under the Gulf of Alaska, and at 1,008 millibars right around the Yukon area. You can also see a low pressure system at 1,000 millibars in British Columbia along a stationary front with showers. On Monday, Bethel got a little snow, and I'm not really sure which of these pressure systems or weather fronts caused this, but I do notice that the high pressure system seemed to be traveling southeast, as the low pressure system on this stationary front seemed to be traveling northeast, and the YK Delta, as stated, did receive some precipitation. On Tuesday, it seems as though that low pressure system continued to move east into British Columbia on that stationary front, as you can see at 1,008 millibars. The high pressure system at 1,029 millibars at the North Slope and at 1,032 millibars in the Yukon continued to kind of linger in that area, and there were some clouds, but no precipitation on this date, the 27th. So my best guess would be that the low pressure system caused the precipitation that came down on the previous day. There was no precipitation on Wednesday, the 28th, and as you can see, that low pressure system had traveled completely east off the map, while the high pressure system stuck around at 1,034 millibars at the North Slope and 1,043 millibars in the Yukon. Another low pressure system seems to creep up at 989 millibars just south of the eastern Aleutian Islands. Into Thursday and even Friday and through the weekend, that low pressure system seems to continue on that eastward path, and the high pressure system seems to be moving southeast. And I will note again, by Monday, February 2nd, Bethel did receive a little snow. The GOES or GOES satellite maps were a little tough for me to interpret, but on Monday, January 26th, I took my reading at night, so the visible image would not have applied to this reading as it would have just appeared as all black. I think in the thermal image, the brighter area can be identified as high clouds, as I noted in my weather observation, and for the vapor image, there is some brightness in my region, which does coincide with the light precipitation for that day. My biggest challenges during my weather observations were identifying wind direction as well as speed and identifying types of clouds. For this assignment, reading these maps has been a bit of a struggle, but I hope to improve with more practice and exposure. Reporting from Bethel, I'm Kristen Hall.